Alright lads, so a flashback from the past. 5 years later, 1000-year Blood War Round 1 has now officially been resurrected. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a quick little showcase demonstrating all 4 characters, talking about what they got and also what they should have gotten. And then in a couple days time, I will actually make a special commemorative video, 5 years later video, about these particular characters. It's going to be a very special video, probably full of nostalgia and also throwback. So make sure you let us subscribe for that. It's going to be a very, very special video, and I do plan to do that every time a 1000-year Blood War character does get resurrected. But for today's video, we're just here to quickly demonstrate the new resurrected characters and how good were their resurrections. Are they finally good now? Let's actually talk about it. Alright, so the first character we're looking at is 1000-year Blood War Shunsui, who all things considered actually got a pretty good upgrade. Now, before we do talk about the upgrade, let's just appreciate 5 years later, this character still has some of the best visuals in the entire game. Let's firstly look at his nurturing, right? His nurturing for an SP character, absolutely sexy. Just look at this. Like, it's just so smooth. Like, that's all I can say about it. Like, he's an SP character, but I don't think we have a single SP character that has a better nurturing than this. Like, it's not a special nurturing, just visually, and the way it comes out, it's just so smooth. His SA3, beautiful. I love the white and black that we have with it. It looks nice. His SA1 too, doing that lunge forwards, and then you have like the clones of Shunsui doing it too. It just looks really nice. Probably the worst part about this character, and also the part I dislike the most, is definitely that SA2. It just doesn't look the best compared to his other attacks. Like, every attack he does has like the shadow gimmick to it, and then his SA2 is just a shockwave. Like, it makes sense because he does do the attack, but yeah, it's probably the weakest part by his kit. And then look at that SA3 again, look at that. And then we are seeing here, with the upgrade that we did get an increase on our damage output, and that is definitely being helped out a lot here when we are at full stamina. And then we go into the final boss. Let's use our SA1, do a bit of damage on the SA2, cancelled it too early. That is an absolutely amazing sword bomb. Probably out of the entire 4000 Blood War characters that came with this particular round, this one definitely aged the best in my opinion. Kena did a very good job at implementing his Bankai into the sword bomb, which only has to last like 10 or so seconds. It looks great, honestly. In terms of visuals, I'd say Shunsui has definitely lived up to par, you know, even 5 years later. But when it comes to his upgrade, what exactly did he get? Well, besides obviously the increase in extra stats, he did get 20% damage at full stamina, which is, you can see here, is definitely helping out a tad bit since we aren't able to one-shot, at least at base level. This character is only T10 level 1 SP, so this is basically the bare minimum right now. So that extra 20% damage definitely does go a long way, especially because it also affects our normal attack damage and also soul bomb damage. In addition to that, he got an extra 10% strong attack recharge. Previously, this character didn't have any recharge built into him, and that was probably the weakest part about this entire character, is that his strong attacks just wouldn't come back fast enough. You know, when he came out 5 years ago, it wasn't that big of a deal, but nowadays, you know, 5 years later, it definitely does make a big difference, and his strong attacks coming back faster than usual definitely is appreciated. And then his last skill, and probably the weirdest upgrade, is the follow-up. So follow-up essentially allows you to hit the characters on the floor with your nudge string. Normally, strong attacks can do that, like just they can hit everyone, regardless if you're on the floor or not. So it's not really the biggest upgrade, and we couldn't even demonstrate it there. We're going to try and showcase it in our next run. But follow-up is definitely a weird skill to put on an SP character, and for some reason, they keep putting it on SP characters. I think there's like 3 SP characters now, funny at the all speed, this Shunsui, Tag Team BYAKUYA, and also Speed Grimmjow that have follow-up. Follow-up, for the most part, is more of an attack skill. You want it on your normal attack damage characters, so it doesn't really impact this character all too much. So let's quickly demonstrate it. We're going to knock these enemies back, and you can see there that we can just attack them instantly. If we didn't have follow-up, we would have to wait a couple extra seconds for them to get up. Again, it's not like a really massive skill. Even for a NAD character, it doesn't really impact them like that greatly, but it's a quality of life skill for the most part. And considering this character does have a really fun NAD string, and also did get, again, a 20% buff when at full stamina to his NAD string, his soul bomb, and strong attacks, I guess follow-up is decent, because, like, I like using his nudge string. It's basically about it. That's all I can really say about the follow-up skill, but that's essentially all he did get. As far as resurrections do go, I'd say he got a pretty good resurrection, because he got what he wanted, a 20% strong attack damage increase, and I guess it's better than usual, because now it applies to his soul bomb, and also normal attack damage. He did get the strong attack recharge, which is what this character did want. And then because he is a 1000-year blood character, at least so far for what they look to be doing for future resurrections, is they're now giving them 1 extra skill. Previously, their skill cap would be at 7. Now it's currently at 8. So these new resurrections that we can get are going to be a tad bit better. I still think their skill cap should be increased more so compared to what we have nowadays. But regardless, the fact is they got more skills than usual. He should have only picked up 20% Berserker or full stamp and also the recharge, but instead he also picked up follow skill. So technically he got a better resurrection than most characters in the game. I personally think he should have got another skill instead of follow up. I'm not sure what that skill could have been. Maybe 20% Berserker on top of the full stamp so we could have done more damage. Maybe weakened defense on his Sobon would have been great too. But follow up for the most part is probably the biggest waste on this particular character. But as far as resurrections go, he got what he wanted and technically more. And next up, we have 1000-year Blood War Sajin, who was one of my favorites of the particular banner, because he was, for the most part, the one I only pulled when these characters first came out. But he is a no-attack damage character who unfortunately didn't pick up Guard Break. Before we talk about his resurrection, though, let's actually talk about the particular character itself. Now, as far as characters do go, I think visually, he didn't age the best. I do like what they did with his attacks, though. This blue slash is really cool and different compared to any other Sajin in the entire game. I'm not sure if that's what it's supposed to look like. We will find that out when the anime eventually gets around to doing this particular character in combat. But the blue attacks on his Natstring, I think, looks quite nice in my opinion. And it's very basic attacks too. It's just slashes with Tenkin from behind him. Nothing too special. But what is special about this particular character is when you do use your Soul Bomb, you actually get an increase on your range on your final hit. So that's his final hit. Let's use our Soul Bomb now. And with that, we now get a permanent buff on our Natstring on the final hit. So we have 1, 2, 3. Look at that. That's pretty big range, you know, to be fair. I think with his resurrection now, he has a 570 AoE in front of him on that final hit. So he literally has the largest Natstring in the entire game when it comes to the final hit, right? But other than that, this character didn't really age the best too. He was kind of like a... For the most part, back in the day, 5 years ago when this character first came out, Nad characters were kind of just good in both raid battles and also PvE content. There wasn't like a set meta for the most part. So he was a character that was good in raid battles and also PvE content, but unfortunately didn't age the best because after like 2 or so months, Retsu came out. Then we started to get the hard struck, flurry, poise, DR, raid battle meta, and this character really couldn't keep up. So after 3 or so months, even in PvE content, this character kind of just got replaced quickly. So when it came to his resurrection, I really didn't have any hope for this character whatsoever, because realistically, there was nothing they could do that would fix this particular character. So what exactly did he pick up on his resurrection? Well, what you will note is that pre-resurrection, he originally had 5 skills. So that means he would pick up 2 skills, but of course, as mentioned, they did increase the skill cap for these resurrection characters, so now he picked up 3 extra skills. The first one being weakened defense, so when you do your Soul Bomb and you get that extra bit of range, you do a tad bit more damage to the enemies that got hit by your Soul Bomb. It's kind of a weird one, and they kind of just had like no other skill to put on him when it comes to the weakened defense, because what you will notice is that this character does want to use his Soul Bomb kind of straight away to get that extra bit of range. So the weakened defense isn't even going to play that big of a part, since it's only going to be affected by the wave you use it on, right? And since they're normal PvE enemies, like they're not hard to kill to begin with, especially with a Nad build, we are pretty much doing, you know, we're basically one-shotting for the most part, either 1 or 2 shotting. Look at that. That last Natstring is actually really nice. So while the weakened defense is nice, again, it's kind of just a weird one because you do want to just Soul Bomb straight away. But I guess in this particular case, we can use our Soul Bomb again, apply the weakened defense, we do more damage to Espadas, and then we can just do 2 shots against this particular Halibel. 39,000, decent. Alongside the weakened defense, he also picked up an extra bit of more range. So originally this character had long reach plus 15%. Now it goes up to 20, and that's why, you know, even when you aren't transformed, or even when you are transformed, you do pick up more range than usual if we were using the pre-resurrected Sajin. Alongside the extra increase in range, he got a 30% increase on his non-attack damage, so we are doing more damage than usual. I guess that's nice. Overall, this character basically has Fly plus 1 with a 50% bruiser, which, you know, is still outdated, but it's better than what it was before. It is a 30% increase. And then for his Soul Trait, he did also pick up 12% DR. Originally, it was 20% normal attack damage. So his Soul Trait is actually pretty good. It does actually impact him too. You know, he gets an extra bit of DR. He's a bit more tankier right now. But it's also just a really good link for any future Mind character. 20% NAD and DR. Can never really go wrong with that. Overall, this Sajin, didn't really get that big of an upgrade. Like, he got 3 new skills that make him better, sure, but what this character really needed was guard break. Guard break would have made him a really good character. Not even really good, if I'm being honest. Like, this character, in my opinion, I had no hope for. No matter what they did with this character, nothing would make this character playable again. And that's just the simple truth, right? He was too outdated, and a resurrection can't even save that. What he would have wanted to pick up, though, was guard break, and that would have made him somewhat fun for maybe 10 minutes to use in PvE content, maybe just auto a point event, and that would have made him better. And I feel like he should have gotten guard break, but even if he did, it wouldn't have done any much difference, in my opinion. The way this character is set to play, especially with an Espada killer, is that you kind of want to be a Brave Battle character, and currently in a meta right now that's kind of against captains, this character basically had no hope whatsoever. But guard break would have been nice, if I'm being honest. But next up, on more positive news, we actually did get a really good resurrection with this particular Toshiro. My god, did this character get a really good upgrade. Now, before we do talk about the upgrade, let's quickly talk about the character itself. Toshiro, at the time of his release, was pretty much like the best character in the entire game. Also, visually too, he has just an amazing set of visuals that even 5 years later, again, hold up quite well, in my opinion. Keep in mind, this character just has ice attacks, and we have seen plenty of ice attacks before, yet he's still able to stand out to a certain extent. His SA1 is a lunge forward with some really good range that has now gotten better with his resurrection. Same goes for his SA2, it's an 800 AoE in front of him, and then his SA3 is a full screen attack, and it comes out very fast. That's the main thing about this particular character, is that all of the attacks he does have come out very quick, and that's what made him really good, especially again when he came out at the time. This was before 1000 Year Battle Retsu, that there wasn't a set standard Brave Battle meta, and SP characters were still good, so people would use this Toshiro because his SA3 just came out super fast. He was a very good Brave Battle character, and also pretty much the best PvE character in the entire game, alongside being a fan favorite transformation and form of Toshiro. This character was basically just the pinnacle of hype when it came to Bleach Brave. So unfortunately, I couldn't actually pull for a few years. I didn't get him straight away, which definitely does suck, but even getting him years later, I was still happy to have him because he was a very good character. Unlucky for us, he actually got a pretty good resurrection. So for starters, what he did pick up was an extra 60% strong attack damage on his sword trait. Originally, he's a 12% recharge sword trait, so picking up that extra 16% strong attack damage not only affects his gameplay output because he's doing a tad bit more damage, but it also makes him pretty much one of the best links in the entire game for any power character. You know, Shunsui also got the strong attack damage and recharge sword trait combo, but personally I prefer sword traits like this that offer the extra bit of recharge and less sad than more sad and less recharge. Additionally, he also picked up 20% havoc, and that's pretty much like the biggest increase that you're seeing here, is that this is really good. Like, he already had great strong attacks to begin with. His SA1 has really good range for a lunge, but picking up the extra 20% havoc now basically means he has one of the best lunges in the entire game, one of the best SA2s in the entire game, and also just a standard SA4 screen 1200 radius. So as far as characters do go, I say he competes with some of the newer characters nowadays. Like, obviously not compared to Fauzi Yamamoto, not even 2022 characters, maybe 2020. Like, the only thing this character is lacking nowadays is just damage output, but you can fix that with Transcendence. He is going to be a 1000 World character, is going to get thrown onto a lot of banners. You also can pick up a character pack sometime next month. You might already have him 5-5, so the only bad thing about him, in my opinion, is again just the damage output, which again you can just fix with Transcendence. And keep in mind, because the skills were actually increased from 7 skills for a Resurrection character to 8, he also did pick up 20% more damage to frozen enemies. So when you do apply the freeze, you are doing even more damage, just 20% more damage. Personally, I would have preferred just a 20% Berserker. That's what I was actually really hoping for, but I'll gladly take it. Because again, I was only expecting him to get 20% Havoc if we were lucky. I thought they would really just give him 20% Berserker and the extra bit of strong attack damage on his sword trait and then call it a day. But lucky for us, he picked up the Havoc, and that's definitely the biggest thing that I wanted on this character, which is what he got, and that's why I'm personally happy with the Resurrection, because again, that's all I was expecting. 20% Havoc, an extra bit of strong attack damage. He got that and technically more with the extra damage to frozen enemies. But just look at this gameplay, like, it's smooth. And I know we're only playing single player IZ. This isn't really the best demonstration of his strength, but you know, I only have him at T10. I don't have any increase on his spiritual pressure when it comes to Transcendence, but I definitely will be increasing it because I do like this character. And you know, 5 years ago, as I mentioned, I didn't get to pull for him, so I never really got to experience this character at his peak, so I don't mind playing with him right now. Honestly, if I do get this character transcended, max transcended, I'd take him into IT. I don't think it's that bad of a thing to do. The extra range and damage definitely does help. So overall, in my opinion, Toshiro got a very good resurrection. And then lastly, we have 1000 Year Blood or BYAKUYA, who obviously, as we all are aware, didn't really get the best resurrection. Now, in my opinion, I was the Out of the 4 characters, he was definitely the one I didn't really care about. Even before seeing his stats and skills, I feel like this Byakuya just doesn't look as cool as the other 4 characters that demonstrate new type of abilities. This character just does just a new attack, right? It's nothing too special. So he wasn't the one like I was really like that excited about. But, you know, 5 years later, as time has gone by, he was the one I was looking forward to the most in a sense, because I completely missed that SA1, because he actually had the best chance here to get a really good resurrection. Very similar to Kugo and Wonder Wise, for example, that were missing one key skill, that being Frenzy +1. And he already had a good damage output in terms of the 40% Berserker, and also full stamina damage with the weakened defense and bombardment. So considering that characters like Kugo, characters like Wonder Wise got Frenzy +1, I was really hoping this character would also get it. And if he did get Frenzy +1, this would have made him a pretty decent character. Like, even though he doesn't affect any stat elements, he could still be used in my opinion, and I think like it would have been good and kind of like heartwarming to a certain extent if he did pick up that Frenzy +1, especially because there was the memes of the petitions and stuff like that. And obviously, as we all are aware, 5 years later, he did not get it. Now, the reason for that, because I know someone like Wonder Wise has Frenzy +1, and I was expecting to get Frenzy +1 too, but he's kind of like the last of an old type of character, a hybrid type of character. And I guess Caleb was dead set on giving this character the hybrid treatment, and for some reason just didn't want to give him Frenzy +1. There is, of course, someone like 1000 Year Blood Warrior Yachiru that is set to get a resurrection sometime in the future, and she has the same problem that Byakuya has, where she doesn't have Frenzy. But I feel like she's more likely to get Frenzy +1 considering the stat difference. If you look at Byakuya's stats, he has a hybrid stat. His attack and SP is basically almost the exact same. And then if you look at Yachiru's stats, she actually has significantly more SP than attack. At the same time, if you look at Arena, Byakuya, instead of picking up strong attack damage for his Arena skills, he actually gets normal attack damage, which is very strange because he is supposed to be a more of an SP character, whereas Yachiru in Arena does pick up strong attack damage. So for those that have like no hope for her not getting Frenzy, I feel like overall she has a better chance of picking up Frenzy compared to Byakuya because she had Bombardment. Whereas Byakuya is just a straight hybrid character, and that's what he was always meant to be. Unfortunately, that means again he didn't pick up Frenzy +1. So that's definitely the biggest disappointment about his resurrection, was that the one skill he needed, he just unfortunately didn't get because Caleb are stingy. They wanted to just make sure he stayed a hybrid character. But what exactly did he pick up when it comes to his resurrection? Well, for starters, you will notice he has strong attack recharge. He got the extra 10% strong attack recharge, right? Originally, just like Shunsui, this character didn't have recharge, and that does again allow him to do a tad bit more damage. It means his strong attacks come back a tad bit faster. It's also really good for his SA2, since it is a shield type of move, and you do want that SA2 to come back as fast as possible, so you can stack the shield again. Additionally, he did pick up multi-barrier, so he has 5 barrier hits for himself and 3 hits for your teammates instead of the 3 for himself and 1 for his teammates. I actually really like the idea of multi-barrier, and I don't actually mind it. If he got that alongside the Frenzy, this would have been a really good resurrection. But instead of picking up Frenzy +1, what he picked up instead was actually 30% devastation. Now keep in mind, this character does have weakened defense and also bombardment, so his soul bomb does hit harder than usual. So he already had one of the better soul bomb damage in the entire game for the most part without any stat elements. So that extra 30% devastation does help him a tad bit in terms of the damage output. And it does bring up the question, at least for guild heads that have this character max transcended and also the new Ichigo. Ichigo does do 100% more damage to enemies that aren't affected by a stat element. But when it comes to Guild Quest Nuking, you're most likely going to apply Weakening, for example. But since this character has a really powerful soul bomb, you might be able to pair his soul bomb damage with Ichigo and be able to do a really powerful nuke and potentially clear very fast when it comes to Guild Quest. But that's like the only gimmick he has right now, due to the fact that, again, he got more damage on his soul bomb. I can't test out myself just yet. I don't have Ichigo, but I might test out in the future. So he might have some usage, and that's basically about it. Just comes down to soul bomb damage when it comes to nuking. Because again, unfortunately, no Frenzy. And that's essentially all there is when it comes down to talk about this particular character. Again, no Frenzy. It basically just makes him unplayable. He had some potential here, but unfortunately, Caleb were stingy in their ways and made sure that he would stay a hybrid character to the end. And again, to my knowledge, this is the last of the hybrid type of characters, so I don't think we have many examples or cases left of characters where they don't have Frenzy and they aren't going to pick it up. I'm pretty confident someone like Yachiru, who is next to get their resurrection in terms of 1000 Year Blood Warrior characters, I'm pretty confident we won't have a repeat of what we had here unfortunately, with 1000 Year Battle Byakuya. But all in all, lads, that was the video for today, just talking about these new resurrected characters. Yeah, overall, again, fairly content with the overall batch, because I do think there's some good ones, there's some bad ones. I am also excited going forward into the future with more resurrections to come, since they did increase the skill cap for those characters, now picking up 8. That's going to make them a bit more interesting when it comes to resurrections, as the last couple of so months, characters were only picking up 20% Berserker, and they were calling it a day, right? Now that they can get 8 skills, it means characters can potentially pick up 20% Berserker, maybe a more of a support skill, maybe some stamina recovery, weaken defense, full stamina damage, and most importantly, havoc on some of these older characters. I do, of course, wish Caleb would do more with resurrections, but as far as resurrections do go, this was definitely one of the better batches that we have received thus far, despite us having, again, a few hiccups with Byakuya mainly. But with that said, the main point is that all 4 of the characters, regardless of getting good or bad resurrections, are all very powerful links. 4 characters got resurrected, so pick up those 300 orbs, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.